Good afternoon. This is John Presco coming to you live from Springfield, Oregon. And I want to first announce that looks like I'm going to be a candidate for governor of Oregon. Uh, it's February 1st, 2022, and I just went through the process of um, now what's about come, that word doesn't come to me, enrolling, applying. I filled out the applications, I paid $100 fee. Okay, this is the dawn of a new day. Um, I'm going to be changing, hopefully, my life around 180 degrees. I want to go into the NFT non fungible token business. I put some items up for sale in terms of artwork. But now I want to talk about me being writing pioneer novels that have uh, predicted uh, the NFTs. And the first one, oh boy, I just pulled the whole stack off. And I'm missing some pages. I've got to go through my box there, which you can see the box. Maybe I'll show you. But that's Chameleon art. And I believe I began this in 1990, if not earlier. I think it was around the time of the San Francisco earthquake, the big one. I read this. No, did I read this? Maybe I wrote this earlier. No, that's right. I read this at Serenity Lane, 1987, because I remember when I lived in a quad in 87, at the end of 87, a woman read this in the kitchen of my quad. She was a friend of you share 4 units, and she was a friend of my neighbor, and she read the whole thing. So I think this I have to look at my copyrights now. But this is inspired by my sister's success, where she was basically taken advantage of by her handler, uh, who signed her to a contract where she had to produce one painting a week. That's 52 paintings a year. And she was really hard pressed to do that. She got a projector and was projecting on a canvas and filling it in. When Ira Cohen came in to see how the painting for the week was doing, and he saw the unfinished work. He said, "I like that. That's your style. Do more like this." And she was fine, because I can, knock these off pretty easily with a better projector. And she did. Christine Rosemont Benton was really cranking these out, and Ira Cohen would come and come for the rent. She was supporting my niece Shannon, and she didn't really know how famous she was until she was watching a movie, and the commercial came on. And there's one of her paintings over the Rosamond paintings over the bedroom set that was for sale. So she got an attorney and sued him for about $3 million. And she won. She disclosed how much. But it really became like printing money. She'd be printing these prints and, hundreds, tens of thousands of them. They're all over the world, Japan, France. And it was like making money, like cranking out money in the gallery of the Rosamond Gallery. And this is something I didn't really want to participate in, even though Ira Cohen wanted to handle my work. I was, Christine was going to teach me her style, and so I could crank these things out with her side by side. Yeah, you turn the handle. Your turn now, brother. Okay. Oh, look, it's money coming out. So yeah, and then my editor, Marilyn took some of my paintings over there to Iron. I was living up in Blue River and stuff, and he wanted me to be less surreal, more like Christine, who had quit him and gone on to Circle Galleries. So I said, no, that's my style. I'm not going to be altering it to, to please you, or your perception of what the public wants. And that is pretty interesting when you read that Christine's biography. So here it is, page 1, Chameleon Art by John Gregory. In the city of Los Angeles, Laura Ann McCry found herself in front of the Texas Instruments Art Gallery, fighting the urge to enter. She had just made a purchase from an antique dealer down the street and was feeling guilty for her sin, as under her arm was an 18th century French chamber pot with matching pitcher, yet another draftee in the Cultural War she was having with her husband, and his charge card. And no sooner did she leave the shop did her mind begin to decimate, take no prisoners in the argument she would certainly have with him over yet another one of her daring acquisitions, this latest breach in their ceasefire. He hated her need for antiques that in the beginning were small, inconspicuous bric-a-brac, but they soon filled every nook and cranny in the house. Like a military buildup, he did his best to ignore. And what about their national budget? As he had his mind set on getting his hands on a new router for his woodworking projects, which was nothing less than the Roosevelt WPA, a back to work program designed to take his household out of the Deep Depression that had everything to do with the size and cost of Laura's growing addiction that was out of control, its insidiousness manifest in the form of a velvet love seat in the den, his den, where once he and his buddies could enjoy the big skin battles, and but feeling like bulls in a china shop, and and uneasy sitting in the new love seat together, they moved with the comradeship down to Charlie's, where the furniture in his den was a Scotch Guard manly plaid, and unprotected by Laura's watchful eye, whenever this home team scored or made a decisive surge into enemy territory. She once uh, loosed a teacup, an Italian vase during their Super Bowl game due to Chuck slamming down his fist on the English end table that was rumored to have belonged to the Lord Nelson, but almost collapsed under Chuck's cannonball barrage, signaling a victorious touchdown. Now, see, I believe I got ripped off from this story by the series True Time. What's his name? And we'll talk about that. Okay, so let's move ahead. Oh boy, thinking about that, very likely ripoff is real tough. I'm a good writer, maybe a little bit too windy. So she's going to be shopping for Chameleon art. Let's see, page 6. Chameleon art. Chameleon art was still in its infancy, the new nouveau, the latest quintessential statement of unattainable status. Before the public even heard of it, chameleon art was hanging above the hearse of the most well-to-do and famous, reflected in martini glasses as the feet owners were explained to their guests they have enticed into their home just to spring it on them, the incredible intricacies of its stats, of its state-of-the-art microchips. I haven't read this in, I don't know, 20 years. Just to spring it on them, the incredible intricacies of its state-of-the-art microchips, and above all, its unimaginable and inaccessible cost to all but them. Chameleon art is basically an empty canvas, a masterpiece waiting to happen. It's back, an intricate maze of computer chips anxious to be put in your living room, plugged in, and as you lounge around in your finest attire, sipping the most expensive wine, the more expensive the better, for these tiny little chips begin to sense, sip, and taste your radiating ambience, run their little antennae over your upholstery and drapes, noting the color of your eyes and hair. Are you color coordinated? Your apps, your vocabulary is very important. Do you know the right things to say at just the right moment? To just the right people? These chips even take a peek at the labels on your clothing, as you might want to run off to Paris and upscale your wardrobe, as all the little things you have acquired to impress others are soon imprinted in their memory bank. And before your eyes, they begin the first inspired brushstrokes. And this is the new renaissance. It's like having a well-known artist, dead or alive, come to live with you, commissioned to blend your being into a masterpiece, and thus its name. It's like putting this talented little lizard in your decor, commissioned by Mother Nature herself to complement it, thus eliminating the guesswork, the art expert, and your decorator. Those fakes the rich and famous have for centuries been at the mercy of. Chameleon art had already completed extraordinary masterpieces in the styles of Cezanne, Picasso, Rembrandt, as if those masters had been raised from the dead to continue their genius, some of them actually acquired by museums, their values skyrocketing. Even the Japanese were convinced, and thus there were incredible prices paid at private auctions for the very best, none more spendy than the work of the artist named Leo, just plain Leo. He given that name by his owner, who owned the largest media network in the world. He convinced Leo he convinced Leo was the reincarnation of Da Vinci. This is before the Da Vinci Code, people. Or his ghost roaming his house. A long deliberation that established critiques had the long established critiques had to hand it to Leo, their certificate of authenticity, backed, of course, by the opinion of the National Choir as to Leo being yet again the absolute proof in the existence of ghosts. And that reincarnation is for real. And he was prolific as all get out, even inventive. But when he became moody and temperamental, that's when all And the no agreed Chameleon art was here to stay. And thus was established the Chameleon Art Club, a very private affair where the owners would bring their masterpieces together like at a cat show. And in no time, they all had a phalanx of ribbons hung like stockings above the fireplace mantel, which seemed to induce the computer chips to produce ever more extraordinary works that made their owners ever so proud, not to mention great supporters of the arts and artists, growing more wealthy, a member of the Medici family incarnate. There it is, folks. This is the genesis of NTS. And digital art right here. I believe I did write this I might have started it in '86 with my other novels. Quite extraordinary. So this is going to be up for sale. And the price starts at $1 million. Okay? This is a Gideon computer. This is the unfinished novel. Chapter 1, The Great American Despair Tax. Bill couldn't afford many things this world purported to offer, or what he came to call the despair tax, seemingly attached to anything worthwhile by a milky white piece of plastic hooked into the very fiber of life. Any value that would have been passed on to you, reached out by a bevy of handlers who had painstakingly figured out more than their maximum cut before they let you handle it, the fine material, then tag you're it, the designated sucker. And try as you may, you can never remove this label under penalty of law. And like a ball of chain that follows after you in all your weary days, you're no longer curious exactly when you were elected to pick up the tab. But it's your duty now, your job, to invent the most preposterous reasoning as to why you are unhappy and thus life sucks. Truly extraordinary. This was begun 1986 as a suggestion by Nancy Hamron of Nancy Yogurt fame. When I visited her at the creamery here in Springfield, she suggested I write the history of the hippies because in us talking about our past, and we were there with the hippies of San Francisco, that I write the history. And a couple of months later, I started the Guinea Computer about the last hippie standing, the last beatnik or bohemian standing, called, and I named it Berkeley Boulevard. And he wanted to be an artist. And he went to UC Berkeley, which really wasn't in, no, wait a minute, did he? No, I think he went to College of Arts and Crafts, Oakland. And then he became interested in engineering, so he transferred to UC Berkeley. So he became an artist, becoming a machinist, and he wanted to design basically an automobile, which he did. He ended the Mach 4 Ford was his design. But then his marriage ended, and he became an alcoholic, a bum, and became homeless. He spent all his days at the Oakland Library next to the reference desk, helping people, the reference desk person with inquiries. He's a very brilliant person, has a photographic memory, and he's basically a human computer. And this story was inspired by a very long interview I heard of Jobs on the radio, and I forget the name of that hippie radio station. but he gave almost an hour and a half talking about the Apple computer coming out, I believe. And I was very impressed. I felt that this was the future. Uh, I believe I was hearing that the hippies invented the World Wide Web uh, from Steve Jobs. I think I was hearing this being suggested, and that's what said, aha, you know, you know, writing about your acid trips and your smoke, marijuana busts, and all that stuff was boring to me. I said, this is the future. The computer. This is 1986, and so I began to get a computer, and Bill gets arrested for a murder. He murdered someone when he was hitchhiking when he was 18. A person tried to sexually molest him, and he killed him, broke his neck. And he ends up being sent to the Gideon the Gideon Institute, where other bright, intelligent rebels and people that buck society and don't want to go along with the program end up. And they're put in solitary, and then to communicate with the prisoners, they're put on computers, and they get to talk a couple hours a day after searching for other prisoners, people to arrest, these artful dodgers that are escaping the Gideon Institute of shame, basically. He's like Thomas Gideon is related to one of the popes. He's taken Catholicism into a new Inquisition, and Berkeley Bill Beauregard's in prison, been captured by the Gideon computer, and now he's looking for a way out. And he's formed a clique of people that are secretly working on how to jimmy the lock. They're basically safecrackers. So that you put bitcoins and people with alternative monetary systems they're working on, and this is why I'm interested in it, because basically I invented it. You just read. I invented this idea of alternative reality and money in going into the computer form. And I belong to Jason's World Currency group that met on Broadway in downtown Eugene, and I'll talk about that at a different time. Okay, well, I got to get ready. I'm going to be meeting with my therapist at 2, and it's 1:22. All right. Glorious day, huh? Okay, and I'll be putting more of a price on, the Gideon computer, also $1 million. And if you want to buy the Roy Rosemont press, that's $2 million. You can have everything for $4 million. Because I need to investments in other creative projects and stuff. I consider this to be an art form. I'm in it for the art form. I believe it's a way of for new political realities, a new way for people to be free of oppressive governments and what have you. I'm seeking. I've been on SSI for quite a long time, and this is my big breakout day. I'm really want to get off SSI, but there's a catch-22 transition that I could end up in the street while taking that chance. So this is a big breakout for me. Getting SSI can be a real prison for people. They're limited on what they can make and their monies and stuff, and they have to live basically a frozen life. They can't really do anything, spend anything, earn anything. It's It's quite constricting. And so this is my big breakout day. All or nothing, people. And I've got gifts and talents here. They're sitting in my boxes and stuff. Yeah, I'll show you these boxes I have. And these are my creative other writing papers sitting over there. And there's a box with all my legal things. I mean, I've done a lot of writing, you know, and this is breakout day, February 1st, 2022. All right. You have a good day. Don't take any wood nickels.